Kyung-ho Park wiped the sweat from his forehead as he studied the readings on his scanner. The metal fingers of his robotic right arm moved smoothly across the device's surface, adjusting settings with perfect precision. 3 months of searching had led him and his team to this remote corner of Cathera 7, a planet so far from civilization that most star maps didn't even mark it. Still getting those energy signatures? So-Min Lee asked, looking up from her own equipment. The young archaeologist had dirt smudged across her cheek, but her eyes were bright with excitement. She had been tracking unusual readings for weeks, convinced they had found something important. Stronger than ever, Kyung-ho replied, his cybernetic arm sensors picking up power sources that shouldn't exist on this dead world. Whatever's down there has been running for a very long time. Tae-wook Kim emerged from behind a cluster of purple rocks, his weathered face showing concern. The veteran pilot had seen too many dangerous situations to trust anything that seemed too good to be true. My ship's picking up massive structures underground. This whole area sits on top of something huge. The 3 humans stood on a barren plateau surrounded by strange rock formations. The twin suns of the Cathera system cast long shadows across the alien landscape. Nothing moved except the wind, which carried the faint smell of metal and ozone. Kyung-ho had lost his right arm in a mining accident 5 years ago. The cybernetic replacement was better than the original in many ways, equipped with sensors and tools that made him one of the best salvage mechanics in known space. But right now, his metal fingers were tingling with sensations he had never felt before. There! So-Min pointed to a section of ground where the soil looked different. The rock patterns suggest an entrance was sealed long ago. They set up their equipment quickly. Tae-wook kept watch while Kyung-ho and So-Min worked to clear away centuries of accumulated dirt and debris. The cybernetic arm's strength made the work go faster, and soon they had exposed a smooth section of wall made from some dark material that seemed to absorb light. I've never seen anything like this, So-Min whispered, running her hands over the surface. The composition doesn't match any known materials. And look at these markings. Strange symbols covered the wall in flowing patterns that seemed to shift when viewed from different angles. Kyung-ho's mechanical sensors recorded everything, but the readings made no sense. The material registered as both metal and crystal, solid and liquid, ancient and somehow alive. Can you find a way in? Tae-wook asked, checking his weapon nervously. Kyung-ho approached the wall and placed his cybernetic hand against it. The moment his metal fingers touched the surface, something incredible happened. The symbols began to glow with soft blue light and a section of the wall simply dissolved, revealing a corridor that stretched into darkness. How did you do that? So-Min gasped. I don't know, Kyung-ho admitted, staring at his robotic hand. It just responded when I touched it. They gathered their gear and stepped into the corridor. Emergency lights activated automatically, illuminating walls covered in more of the flowing symbols. The air was clean and breathable, which should have been impossible after so much time. As they walked deeper, the corridor opened into a vast chamber. The ceiling disappeared into shadows high above, and strange machines lined the walls. Everything was pristine, as if it had been built yesterday instead of eons ago. The energy readings are off the charts, Kyung-ho reported, his arm sensors going wild. Whatever powers this place is still working perfectly. So-Min was already taking pictures and making notes. The architecture is unlike anything in the databases. This predates every known civilization by millions of years. They explored several smaller chambers, each filled with incomprehensible technology. Kyung-ho found that his cybernetic arm could interact with various control panels, causing displays to light up and machines to hum to life. But none of them could understand what any of it meant. In the 4th chamber, they found something that made them all freeze in wonder. A massive holographic display showed a 3-dimensional map of the galaxy, with thousands of points of light marking locations across known and unknown space. Some points pulsed with the same blue light they had seen at the entrance. It's a star chart, So-Min breathed, but it shows places we've never discovered. Kyung-ho reached out with his mechanical hand to touch one of the pulsing lights. The moment he made contact, the entire display changed. New information flowed across screens throughout the chamber, and a low harmonic sound filled the air. Kyung-ho, Tae-wook said quietly. We might want to leave. Now. But it was too late. The sounds were getting louder, and lights were activating throughout the complex. Whatever they had awakened was responding to their presence. Kyung-ho tried to pull his hand away from the display, but his cybernetic fingers seemed locked in place. "I can't move it," he said, a note of panic in his voice. The harmonic sounds grew more complex, almost like a language. Somin was frantically recording everything while Taewook moved toward the entrance, ready to cover their retreat. Then, as suddenly as it had begun, everything went quiet. The displays dimmed and Kyung-ho's hand came free. But something had changed. His cybernetic arm was now glowing with the same soft blue light as the alien symbols. "We need to get back to the ship," Taewook said firmly. "Whatever we just did, it's attracted attention. My sensors are picking up movement in the deeper levels." As they hurried back through the corridors, Kyung-ho noticed that his robotic arm was still tingling with strange sensations. The alien technology had done something to it, changed it in ways he didn't understand. And deep in the complex behind them, something was stirring after eons of sleep. They reached the surface just as the first of the twin suns was setting. In the growing darkness, they could see new lights flickering deep beneath the ground. Whatever they had found was much larger than they had imagined, and they had only seen the smallest part of it. "We need to report this," Somin said, still clutching her recording equipment. But Kyung-ho was staring at his glowing cybernetic hand, wondering what they had really awakened in the depths below. Tomorrow, they would return with better equipment and more people. Tonight he had strange dreams filled with harmonic sounds and flowing symbols that seemed almost familiar. The ruins were no longer sleeping, and neither would he. Kyung-ho couldn't sleep. His cybernetic arm continued to glow softly in the darkness of his cabin aboard the Wanderer. Every few minutes, strange symbols would flicker across the metal surface before fading away. He had never seen anything like it in all his years working with alien technology. "Still awake?" Somin's voice came through the comm system. "I can't stop thinking about what we found either." "My arm won't stop doing this," Kyung-ho replied, holding up his glowing hand. "It's like it's trying to communicate." 3 hours after sunrise, they were back at the entrance to the ruins. Taewook had insisted on bringing more weapons and emergency equipment. Though Kyung-ho doubted conventional weapons would help against technology this advanced. The wall dissolved again at his touch, but this time the response was different. The corridor was brighter, and new passages had opened that hadn't been there the day before. The entire complex seemed to be reconfiguring itself. "The structure is changing," Somin observed, consulting her readings from the previous day. "These passages definitely weren't here before." They followed the main corridor deeper than they had gone yesterday. The harmonic sounds were back, but quieter now, almost like background music. Kyung-ho's cybernetic arm seemed to pulse in rhythm with the sounds. After 20 minutes of walking, they entered a circular chamber unlike anything they had seen. The walls were alive with flowing patterns of light, and in the center stood a tall figure that definitely wasn't human. The being was over 7 feet tall, with pale, translucent skin and 4 arms. Its large eyes held an intelligence that spoke of countless years of experience. When it saw them, it didn't seem surprised or alarmed. Instead, it looked relieved. "Finally," the creature said in perfect English, though its mouth barely moved. "I had begun to think no one would ever come." Taewook's hand moved to his weapon, but Kyung-ho stepped forward. His cybernetic arm was glowing brighter now, and he felt a strange sense of connection to the alien being. "You can understand us?" Somin asked, recovering from her shock. "I am Veltar, last of the Keepers," the being replied, moving closer with fluid grace. "And you are the first to successfully interface with our technology in over 1,000,000 years." Veltar's attention focused on Kyung-ho's robotic arm. "May I examine this? I must understand how you achieved what should be impossible." Kyung-ho hesitated, then extended his cybernetic hand. When Veltar touched it, both the arm and the alien began to glow with blue light. Suddenly, Kyung-ho's mind was filled with images and information that wasn't his own. He saw vast cities floating among the stars, filled with beings like Veltar. He watched as they built incredible machines and gathered knowledge from across the galaxy. He felt their wisdom, their power, and their growing isolation as they became too perfect to relate to other species. "Your kind calls them the Keepers," Veltar explained as the visions faded. "We were the guardians of galactic civilization for millions of years. We maintained order, preserved knowledge, and guided younger species toward enlightenment." "What happened to you?" Somin asked softly. Veltar's expression grew sad. "We became too perfect. We solved every problem, answered every question, eliminated every challenge. In our perfection, we lost the drive to grow and change. One by one, we simply stopped." I am the last keeping watch over our legacy. Kyung-ho was still reeling from the mental connection. Why can I interface with your technology when others can't? Because you are not trying to master it, Veltar replied. You approach it with curiosity rather than conquest, adaptation rather than domination. Your cybernetic enhancement bridges the gap between organic thought and our biotechnological systems. The chamber around them continued to shift and change, responding to their conversation. New displays appeared, showing star maps and technical diagrams that hurt Kyung-ho's brain to look at directly. You said you were waiting for someone, Tae-wook said, still keeping his distance. Waiting for what? Veltar gestured to the displays around them. For a species worthy of inheriting what we built. The Keepers left behind repositories of knowledge and technology on thousands of worlds. All of it has been waiting for the right inheritors. And you think that's humanity? So-min asked. I think it might be, Veltar replied carefully. But worthiness cannot be assumed. It must be proven. Kyung-ho felt his cybernetic arm pulse again. Through the connection, he sensed vast networks of information and power spread across the galaxy. The scope of what the Keepers had built was staggering. What kind of proof? He asked. Veltar smiled, an expression that somehow looked both alien and familiar. The same thing that doomed my people. The test of what you do with power once you have it. Do you hoard it? Do you use it to dominate others? Or do you find wisdom in its application? The alien moved to one of the control panels and placed all four hands on its surface. The entire chamber transformed, walls becoming transparent to reveal the true size of the complex below. It stretched for kilometers in every direction, filled with machines and knowledge that could change the course of galactic civilization. Your cybernetic interface gives you access to our systems, Veltar explained. But access is not mastery. True inheritance requires understanding not just how our technology works, but why we built it and what we learned from its use. So-min was frantically taking notes and recording everything. How long do we have to prove ourselves? Time has a different meaning when you have lived as long as I have, Veltar replied. But your species moves quickly. I suspect the test will not take long to resolve itself. Kyung-ho felt a chill run down his spine. What do you mean? Your presence here has not gone unnoticed. The energy signatures you detected to find this place are now much stronger. Other species will come to investigate. Some will come in peace seeking knowledge. Others will come with conquest in mind. Tae-wook checked his communicator and swore. I'm picking up ships entering the system. Multiple contacts, different configurations. Veltar nodded sadly. And so it begins. The true test is not whether you can access our technology, young engineer. The test is what humanity does when others seek to take it from you. The chamber filled with new displays showing approaching spacecraft from several different alien civilizations. Some Kyung-ho recognized from trade dealings, others were completely unknown. All were heading directly for Cathara 7. Will you help us? So-min asked. I will observe, Veltar replied. The choice of whether humanity proves worthy must be yours alone. But I will say this. The last species to find a keeper repository chose to use our weapons against their enemies. They destroyed themselves within a year. Kyung-ho looked at his glowing cybernetic arm, then at his companions, then at the approaching ships on the displays. Somewhere in this ancient complex lay the power to change everything. The question was whether humanity was wise enough to deserve it. The test had begun. The first ship to arrive wasn't human. Kyung-ho watched through the Wanderer's view screen as a sleek vessel with blue markings settled onto the plateau above the ruins. He recognized the design. Altarian explorers, generally peaceful but competitive when it came to archaeological discoveries. They'll want to negotiate, Tae-wook said, checking his weapons one more time. Altarians always prefer talking to fighting. That's good, right? So-min asked, though she sounded nervous. Kyung-ho wasn't so sure. His cybernetic arm had been acting stranger since their meeting with Veltar. Sometimes he could feel the vast network of keeper technology calling to him, like a voice just beyond hearing. Other times, symbols would flash across the metal surface faster than he could read them. We should go back down, he decided. Veltar might have advice for handling this. They found the keeper in a different chamber, one filled with displays showing the approaching ships in real time. 6 vessels now, from 4 different species. More were coming. The Altarians will arrive first, Veltar observed without turning around. They are scientists and traders. They will want to study what you have found. And the others? Tae-wook asked. The Zephyrians are warriors. They will try to take by force what they cannot earn through merit. The Crystalline Collective seeks knowledge to add to their vast libraries. And the Vorthan? Veltar paused. The Vorthan Empire believes that all advanced technology rightfully belongs to them. Somin gulped. That doesn't sound good. The test begins now, Veltar said, finally turning to face them. How your species handles this situation will determine whether you are worthy of the Keeper inheritance. Kyung-ho felt his cybernetic arm pulse with energy. Through some connection he didn't understand, he could sense the vast defensive systems built into the complex, weapons that could vaporize the approaching ships, shields that could protect the entire planet, power sources that dwarfed anything in known space. We could destroy them all, he said quietly. Couldn't we? Veltar's large eyes showed approval. Yes, the thought occurred to you and you recognized it as a choice rather than an inevitability. Good. What else could you do? Hide the technology, Somin suggested. Seal the complex and pretend we never found it. Share it, Taewook added grimly. Give everyone equal access and hope they don't fight over it. All valid options, Veltar agreed. But think beyond the immediate problem. What would each choice mean for your species in the long term? Before they could answer, Taewook's communicator crackled with an incoming transmission. Human vessel, this is Captain Zirhan of the Altarian research ship Bright Seeker. We detected significant energy emissions from your location. May we speak? Kyung-ho looked at his companions, then made a decision. Let them land, but just them for now. 20 minutes later, they were meeting with Captain Zirhan and two other Altarians in the Wanderer's cargo bay. The aliens were tall and thin with silver skin and large black eyes. They spoke in soft, musical voices and seemed genuinely excited about the discovery. Preliminary scans suggest technology far beyond current galactic standards, Captain Zirhan explained. Our xenoarchaeology team would very much like to participate in the research. What about the other ships that are coming? Somin asked. The Altarian captain's expression grew concerned. The Zephyrians and Vorthons are not known for their patience with archaeological protocols. If they believe you have found something valuable, they may attempt to claim it by force. And the Crystalline Collective? Taewook wanted to know. They will try to download everything into their databases and leave. They do not destroy, but they also do not share. Kyung-ho made another decision. Would you like to see what we found? An hour later, the Altarian team stood in Veltar's chamber, staring in amazement at the last keeper. Captain Zirhan's musical voice had gone up several octaves in excitement. Incredible. A living member of the keeper species. The knowledge you must possess. Veltar studied the new arrivals with interest. Your species shows proper respect for ancient wisdom. But tell me, Captain, what would you do with keeper technology if you had unlimited access to it? Preserve it, Captain Zirhan replied immediately. Study it, catalog it, ensure it is never lost again. Such knowledge belongs in museums and libraries where scholars can learn from it. And if others tried to take it from you, the Altarian hesitated. We would defend it, of course. Knowledge must be protected. Veltar nodded and turned to Kyung-ho. Do you see the problem with that answer? Kyung-ho thought about it, his cybernetic arm tingling with insights from the Keeper network. Knowledge that's locked away isn't really knowledge at all. It's just information sitting on a shelf. Precisely. My people made the same mistake. We preserved everything so carefully that we forgot to use it to grow. More ships were arriving. Through the complex's sensors, they could see Zephyrian warships taking aggressive positions, while the Vorthon fleet began deploying boarding pods. The Crystalline Collective's geometric vessels hung back, probably scanning everything they could reach. They're going to fight, Taewook observed grimly. Not if we don't give them anything to fight over, Kyung-ho said, an idea forming in his mind. He walked to the central control panel and placed his cybernetic hand on its surface. Immediately, the chamber filled with displays showing Keeper repositories across the galaxy. Thousands of them, each containing unimaginable treasures of knowledge and technology. What if we told them about all of this? He asked. Not just this one site, but everything? Somin stared at him. You want to give away the locations of every Keeper site in the galaxy? Think about it, Kyung-ho explained, his mechanical fingers dancing across alien controls as the connection deepened. If there are thousands of sites, no one can monopolize them all. Everyone gets a chance to find something. Veltar was watching him carefully, and what would prevent them from fighting over the best sites? Because we'd be there to coordinate it, Kyung-ho realized, the answer coming from somewhere deep in the Keeper network. Not as owners, but as guides, teachers, the same way you taught us. Captain Zirhan looked confused. You would give up exclusive access to become teachers? We'd give up the right to hoard everything to gain the chance to help everyone grow, So-min said, beginning to understand. That's what you're thinking, isn't it? Kyung-ho nodded, feeling more certain as the idea developed. The Keepers fell because they became too perfect and isolated. What if instead of trying to be perfect, we helped others improve themselves? Through the complex's sensors, they could see the first shots being fired between the Zephyrian and Vorthon fleets. The battle for control of the ruins had begun, but Kyung-ho was no longer worried about the fighting. His cybernetic arm was fully integrated with the Keeper systems now, and he could feel the vast network responding to his thoughts. He had a plan that would change everything. The test was about to reach its climax. The battle above Cathara 7 was getting worse. Through the complex's sensors, Kyung-ho watched Zephyrian fighters exchange plasma fire with Vorthon interceptors, while the crystalline collective's ships tried to stay out of the crossfire. The Altarian vessel had retreated to a safe distance, its captain clearly regretting their decision to land. Incoming transmission from Earth Coalition Command, Tae-wook announced, checking his emergency communicator. Multiple ships, military escort. Kyung-ho felt his stomach drop. If the Earth Coalition was sending warships, it meant they had detected the energy signatures and realized something important was happening. Military involvement would make everything more complicated. How long until they arrive? So-min asked. 6 hours, maybe 7, Tae-wook replied. But they're broadcasting on all frequencies, demanding that everyone cease hostilities and withdraw from the system. Veltar moved closer to the main display, his forearms manipulating controls that Kyung-ho couldn't even see. Your military leaders are wise to try diplomacy first, but I fear it may be too late for peaceful solutions. What do you mean? Kyung-ho asked, though his cybernetic arm was already picking up troubling readings from the Keeper network. The Vorthon Empire has detected the true scale of what lies beneath this planet. They are calling for reinforcements. The Zephyrians have declared this a holy site that must be cleansed of unworthy species, and the crystalline collective. Veltar paused. They have begun downloading data through long-range scanners. Above them, more ships were arriving. The space around Cathara 7 was becoming crowded with vessels from a dozen different species, all drawn by the energy signatures and rumors of ancient technology. This is exactly what happened the last time, Veltar said sadly. The discovery of Keeper technology always leads to conflict. Species fight over what they think is power, never understanding that the real test is what they do when they have it. Kyung-ho's cybernetic arm pulsed with new information. Through the network, he could sense other Keeper sites across the galaxy beginning to activate in response to the conflict. It was as if the ancient systems were preparing for war. The sites are connected, he realized aloud. All of them. They're responding to what's happening here. Of course they are, Veltar confirmed. The Keeper network was designed to preserve itself. If one site is threatened, the others increase their defenses and prepare to transfer critical data. Transfer it where? So-min asked. To wherever the network decides it will be safest. Usually that means the most advanced species gets everything, while the others are left with empty ruins. The implications hit Kyung-ho like a physical blow. If the fighting continued, the Keeper network would choose one species as the inheritor and cut off access for everyone else. Given humanity's current technological level, they wouldn't be the chosen ones. We have to stop this, he said. Moving to the central control panel. Stop an interstellar battle with 6 different species? Tae-wook looked skeptical. How exactly do you plan to do that? Kyung-ho placed his cybernetic hand on the control surface, feeling the vast power of the Keeper systems flow through him. By giving them something better to fight over than this one site. The display changed, showing a real-time map of the galaxy with thousands of pulsing lights marking Keeper repositories. But now Kyung-ho could do more than just observe. Through his connection to the network, he could control the information flow. You want to reveal all the sites, Veltar said, understanding immediately, but that will cause wars across the entire galaxy. Not if we do it right. Kyung-ho replied, his fingers working across alien controls that somehow felt familiar. What if instead of just revealing them, we make it impossible for any one species to claim them all? He began implementing his plan, Using the Keeper network, he sent a broad-spectrum transmission to every ship in the system and beyond. The message contained the coordinates of hundreds of Keeper sites, but with a crucial modification. Each site will only activate for mixed crews, he announced over the transmission. No single species can access a repository alone. You have to work together. The reaction was immediate. Fighting stopped as ship captains tried to process what they had just heard. Hundreds of archaeological sites, each containing technology beyond imagination but accessible only through cooperation. Brilliant, Somin breathed. You've made it more valuable to cooperate than to fight. But the celebration was short-lived. The Earth Coalition fleet had arrived, led by a massive battle cruiser that dwarfed every other ship in the system. Commander Hua Young Choi's voice came through on all frequencies. This is Commander Choi of the Earth Coalition vessel Meridian. All vessels will stand down immediately and prepare for inspection. This system is now under human protection. Oh no, Taewook muttered. She's going to try to claim everything for humanity. Kyung-ho felt the Keeper network react to the threat. Defense systems across the galaxy began powering up, ready to protect the repositories from aggressive acquisition. If humanity tried to claim the inheritance by force, they would be cut off permanently. I have to get up there, Kyung-ho realized. Commander Choi needs to understand what's really at stake. The moment you leave this complex, everyone will try to capture you, Veltar warned. Your cybernetic interface makes you the key to accessing Keeper technology. You are now the most valuable person in the galaxy. Through the sensors, they could see the various fleets repositioning. The Zephyrians were forming up to attack the human ships. The Vorthans were deploying boarding pods. Even the peaceful Altarians were powering weapon systems. They're going to fight over me, Kyung-ho said with growing dread. Unless you remove yourself as a prize to be won, Veltar suggested quietly. Somin looked horrified. You're not seriously suggesting— No, Kyung-ho interrupted, understanding what Veltar really meant. Not remove myself. Remove the exclusivity. He turned back to the control panel, his cybernetic arm glowing brighter than ever as he connected deeper into the Keeper network. If he was the key to accessing the technology, then he needed to make sure he wasn't the only key. I can modify the interface protocols, he said, working frantically as more ships arrived in the system. Create multiple access points, train other people to use the technology. That will take years, Taewook pointed out. Then we better start now, Kyung-ho replied. Uploading the first modification to the network. Above them, Commander Choi was demanding to speak with whoever had sent the coordinates transmission. The other fleets were demanding explanations. And somewhere in the chaos, Kyung-ho realized that the real test wasn't just about humanity anymore. It was about whether any of the galaxy's species could learn to work together, or whether they would destroy themselves fighting over the greatest treasure in the universe. The stakes had just become higher than anyone imagined. Commander Hua Young Choi materialized in the Wanderer's cargo bay via emergency teleporter, flanked by 2 Marines in full combat gear. Her face was grim as she surveyed the alien. Ships visible through the viewports. Explain to me why half the galaxy is fighting over this backwater planet, she demanded without preamble. Kyung-ho stood to meet her, his cybernetic arm still glowing with Keeper energy. Because we found something that could change everything, and everyone wants to control it. The archaeological sites you broadcasted coordinates for, Commander Choi said. My xenotechnology experts are calling it the greatest discovery in galactic history. It is, Somin confirmed. But it's also the most dangerous if handled wrong. Commander Choi's expression softened slightly as she recognized the young archaeologist from previous expeditions. Dr. Lee, I should have known you'd be involved in something this significant. Through the ship's communication system, they could hear the continuing chaos above. The Zephyrian fleet was demanding that humans surrender Kyung-ho for purification. The Vorthans wanted him delivered to their empire for proper utilization. Even the Crystalline Collective was offering to preserve his unique capabilities. For future study, they want to use me as a tool, Kyung-ho said grimly, because my cybernetic arm can interface with Keeper technology. Then we'll protect you, Commander Choi replied firmly. The Coalition Navy can— No, Kyung-ho interrupted. That's exactly the wrong approach. He activated a portable display unit showing the real-time status of Keeper sites across the galaxy. Red warnings were flashing on dozens of worlds as the ancient defense systems prepared for conflict. The Keeper network is designed to protect itself, he explained. If it detects aggressive acquisition attempts, it will shut down permanently. All that knowledge, all that technology lost forever. Commander Choi studied the display with growing alarm. How long do we have? Not long. Veltar's voice came through the communicator as the alien joined their conversation remotely. The network's patience is already strained. One more major hostile action and it will activate the final protocols. Who are you exactly? Commander Choi asked. I am the last Keeper and I have been testing your species for worthiness. So far the results are mixed. Tae-wook pulled up tactical displays showing the positions of all the fleets. We've got 17 different species out there, all ready to start shooting. The Zephyrians just fired warning shots at a Vorthan destroyer. Then we end this now, Kyung-ho decided. Commander, I need you to do something that goes against every military instinct you have. I'm listening. Stand down your fleet. Publicly. And invite representatives from every species down here to see what we've actually found. Commander Choi stared at him. You want me to show our potential enemies the source of advanced technology that could tip the galactic balance of power? I want you to show our potential partners a better way forward, Kyung-ho corrected. It took 2 hours to arrange. Every species sent representatives, though some came heavily armed and others brought recording equipment instead of weapons. The meeting took place in the largest chamber Veltar could prepare, with the ancient Keeper present to witness what might be the last chance for peaceful resolution. Captain Zirhan of the Altarians spoke first. We propose joint research expeditions to catalog and preserve all Keeper sites. General Korth of the Zephyrians disagreed. Sacred sites must be cleansed and guarded by warriors, not picked apart by scientists. Empress Vex of the Vorthans was more direct. Advanced technology belongs to those advanced enough to use it properly. Lesser species should be grateful for whatever knowledge we choose to share. The Crystalline Collective's representative, a being of living crystal named Resonance, simply projected data streams showing their species' vast libraries. All knowledge should be collected and preserved centrally. Kyung-ho listened to each argument, his cybernetic arm monitoring the Keeper network's growing instability. Finally, he stood and placed his hand on the central control panel. You're all thinking about this wrong, he said as displays activated around the chamber. You're treating this like a treasure to be divided up instead of a responsibility to be shared. The displays showed the rise and fall of the Keeper civilization, their achievements and their ultimate stagnation. But they also showed something else. Records of younger species that the Keepers had tried to guide, most of whom had failed the same tests now facing the current galactic community. The Keepers didn't fail because they lacked power, Kyung-ho continued. They failed because they tried to control everything instead of teaching others to grow. Veltar moved forward, his forearms gesturing to the historical displays. Every species here sees only what they can take from Keeper technology. Only the humans have asked what they can give. What are you proposing? Commander Choi asked carefully. Kyung-ho took a deep breath and made the choice that would define humanity's future. We become coordinators instead of owners. Help other species access Keeper sites safely, share research, prevent conflicts over the technology. You would give up exclusive human access? General Korth demanded. To ensure everyone has fair access, yes. The room erupted in argument. Some species accused humanity of weakness, others of trickery. But Kyung-ho was watching Veltar, and the ancient Keeper was nodding slowly. This is why the network chose your species, Veltar said, his voice carrying over the noise. Not because you are the strongest or the smartest, but because you understand that true strength comes from lifting others up. Through his cybernetic connection, Kyung-ho felt the Keeper network responding to the decision. Instead of shutting down, the ancient systems began opening new pathways, creating interfaces that other species could eventually learn to use. The network is accepting the proposal, he announced. All sites will remain active, but access will be coordinated through joint commissions. No single species gets everything, but everyone gets a chance to learn and grow. It wasn't a perfect solution. Several species left the chamber angry, and Kyung-ho knew there would be conflicts ahead. But for the first time since the discovery, the Keeper network's warning lights were fading to green. Over the following months, Kyung-ho found himself at the center of a new kind of galactic community. His cybernetic arm had become the template for a new generation of keeper interfaces, allowing researchers from multiple species to work together on unlocking ancient mysteries. The ruins on Cathera 7 became the first interspecies research station, with Veltar serving as advisor and teacher. Humanity's role evolved from discoverers to facilitators, helping coordinate expeditions and prevent conflicts over keeper sites. Standing in the central chamber 6 months later, watching Altarian scientists work alongside Vorthan engineers while Crystalline Collective archivists recorded everything, Kyung-ho realized that humanity had gained something far more valuable than exclusive access to advanced technology. They had gained the trust and cooperation of species across the galaxy, and in doing so, had become the inheritors not of keeper power, but of keeper wisdom. His cybernetic arm pulsed with gentle blue light as new data flowed through the network, carrying discoveries and insights from dozens of active sites. Somewhere in the depths of space, ancient repositories were sharing their secrets with those wise enough to work together. The age of the keepers was over. The age of cooperation had begun, and humanity, with all their flaws and limitations, had become the species that helped make it possible.